Black Hollow. Even the name whispered a threat. The village huddled in the valley, shrouded in perpetual mist. The old houses leaned, their windows like watchful eyes. Shadows stretched long and hungry in the fading light. An oppressive silence hung heavy, broken only by the rustle of dead leaves. Or was it just the wind? Sarah and Mark, young and foolishly optimistic, drove into Black Hollow on a crisp autumn afternoon. They had bought the old Victorian house on Widow's Hill site unseen. A steal, the realtor had said. They didn't know then that some bargains cost more than money. The air grew colder as they climbed the hill towards their new home. The trees pressed close to the road, their branches bare and skeletal. They were the first sign, a warning. They stopped at the village store for supplies. The woman behind the counter eyed them with suspicion. Her gaze lingered on Sarah, then darted away. When Mark mentioned the house on the hill, her face tightened. "You'll be wanting to leave soon enough," she muttered, her voice barely a whisper. Back in the car, Mark laughed it off. "Charming locals," he said, squeezing Sarah's hand. But his smile didn't reach his eyes. He had felt it too, the undercurrent of fear, the veiled warnings in the villagers' gazes. The house loomed large, its silhouette stark against the setting sun. It was imposing, beautiful in a way that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. As they unloaded the car, the shadows lengthened, and the first whispers began. They were faint, just on the edge of hearing, like the wind sighing through the trees. But the wind wasn't saying their names. The first night was the longest. The silence of the house was broken by creaks and groans, each one sending a jolt of fear through Sarah. Shadows danced in the corners of her vision, and the temperature plummeted near the old well in the garden. It was a cold that seeped into your bones, a cold that spoke of more than just the absence of heat. Sleep offered no escape. Sarah's dreams were plagued by a woman with mournful eyes, and a voice that echoed with a cold fury. She spoke of betrayal, of a love twisted into something dark and vengeful. When Sarah woke, her heart pounded in her chest, the woman's voice still ringing in her ears. Mark dismissed it as stress. "It's an old house," he said, his voice tight. But even he couldn't ignore the cold spots, the feeling of being watched, the whispers that followed them from room to room, the whispers that grew louder, more insistent every night. Section 4. Echoes of a Tragedy. They found the diary hidden in the attic, tucked away in a dusty trunk. It belonged to Eliza Blackwood, the original owner of the house. Her words, penned in elegant script, painted a picture of a life shattered by grief and madness. Her lover, she wrote, had betrayed her, leaving her with nothing but a broken heart and a thirst for revenge. Eliza's entries grew more erratic, her words filled with a chilling rage. She wrote of a ritual, a dark pact to bind her lover's soul to the house for eternity. Then, silence. The final pages were empty, except for a single chilling sentence scrawled in a shaky hand. "Death is only the beginning." The diary was more than just a historical curiosity. It was a warning, a chronicle of the darkness that had seeped into the very foundations of the house, a darkness that was now reaching out, eager to claim 2 new souls. Section 5. The Curse of Eliza Blackwood. Nightmares bled into reality. Sarah saw Eliza everywhere, a fleeting glimpse in the mirror, a shadow at the edge of her vision, a cold hand brushing against her cheek in the dead of night. Mark withdrew into himself, his eyes haunted, his words disjointed. The house was changing them, twisting them into something monstrous. The village elder, her face a roadmap of wrinkles, confirmed their fears. The house was cursed, she said, her voice trembling. Eliza's rage had seeped into the land, poisoning the very air they breathed. The only way to break the curse was to complete the ritual, to offer Eliza the final sacrifice she craved. The final confrontation took place in the garden, beside the old well that reeked of death and despair. Eliza's presence was overwhelming, a vortex of cold fury. The air crackled with energy and the whispers reached a deafening crescendo. Mark, driven mad by the curse, lunged at Sarah, his eyes filled with a terrifying emptiness. Sarah knew what she had to do. With tears streaming down her face, she completed the ritual, her voice a choked whisper in the darkness. Eliza's form flickered, her scream echoing through the night, and then she was gone. The darkness lifted, leaving behind a silence that was more terrifying than any scream. Sarah stumbled out of the house, her clothes torn, her mind reeling. She had survived. But as she looked back at the house on the hill, its windows dark and empty, she knew the truth. She was free from Eliza, but the curse lived on. And she, Sarah, was its new keeper.